So I'm Koka Sexton. I currently work at LinkedIn. My background, I spent about 10 years in sales, and I had a very love-hate, mostly hate relationship with marketing. And I had to find ways to be successful as a sales professional outside of marketing, throwing leads over and putting them into a CRM for me to call. So I learned how to leverage social media, and I learned how to do this very well. I learned different tactics, different methodologies and strategies to use social media to fill my pipeline, to find interested people who were genuinely interested in what I was selling. That turned into social selling. And about 4 years ago, I got my first marketing job. And I was really averse to going into marketing for obvious reasons, because I didn't really like them. But I saw a huge opportunity with this company to help tell the story about how social media has a place in the sales ecosystem. And from there, we created something called Social Selling University, which was an educational platform to help salespeople understand how applications like Twitter and LinkedIn can be beneficial to them to use if they use them correctly. And from that, I used it as a platform, and I found out ways to continue leveraging social media to do my job and to help salespeople be more professional or be more successful. And over time, 99% of the companies kept saying, I need to know more about LinkedIn. I want to know, can you teach my reps how to use LinkedIn better than they're already using it? And because of that, LinkedIn finally came knocking on the door, and it said, hey, we're about to build this app. You are the guy who everybody talks about when it comes to social selling, and you talk about LinkedIn 99% of the time, so why don't you come over here and get paid for it? And so I jumped on that, and ever since then I've been helping evangelize social selling and helping LinkedIn understand how social media has a part within the sales profession as well as other professionals' lives. As we think about our professional careers, especially sales professionals, you have to think of yourself as the CEO of Me Inc. And what I mean by that is that you take control of your own career. About 7 years ago, maybe even right around that, somebody told this to me, and it really resonated, because I was at this point where I was like, okay, I'm in sales, I don't really know what I'm going to do, but he said, you have to take control of your own life. You have to act like you are the business owner to your own career. And how do you do that? You start developing your own professional brand. In many ways, you're already doing this just unconsciously. You're doing it through your Facebook updates. You're doing it through everything you already do within a social landscape and with your peer group and everything else. But what it really is your own brand. And what your brand is something that builds an emotion. And so these are all very well-known brands. And each of them has an emotional value attached to it, like a Kia. A Kia makes me really frustrated because I hate to build shit. But Nike, Coke, like they resonate emotion. And your professional brand should do the same thing. When somebody hears your name or sees your picture or whatever that is, you want them to feel comfortable. You want them to have some emotional attachment to you as a professional salesperson. When I was initially going down this path, and I did a search for Koka, this is the very first image that ever popped up. This is an actual noodle company. And I said, I have to find a way to make it so that when somebody searches Koka, they find me and not noodles. And so I went on this mission. Back in 1999, yes, I'm dating myself. Anybody want to tell me what they were doing in 1999? In fact, I don't want to know. Yeah, I don't want to know. Oh, God, I'm so scared. Yeah, I do not want to know. I was working at a software company called Retrospect. It was backup software. Totally unsexy, disaster recovery stuff. Servers crash, they restore it. They even had boxes back then. That's how old this was. But when I was doing this as a salesperson, I was basically just dialing for dollars. We had a CRM, marketing would throw leads over the fence, and I would literally just call through these leads, hoping that somebody or some group of people would buy my software. And then in 2005, I signed up for LinkedIn. And initially it was just my online resume. You import your contacts, you add your work history. It was basically my online profile. It was not as robust back then as it is today. And in 2007, I joined Twitter. I'm very nerdy, so what I figured was I could have my professional contacts, And then I'd build this little network on this thing called Twitter where most people are just taking pictures of their lunch at the time. But then something very interesting happened. And they don't do this anymore because APIs have been shut down, but you used to be able to connect your LinkedIn and your Twitter accounts so that you could say, who am I connected to on LinkedIn, and do they have Twitter profiles? And when I had done that, my mind was blown. Because I realized that I had a ton of connections that I had built through events or prospecting or whatever it may be that were on Twitter that I had no idea. And it was all just matched by email address. And I could follow what they were doing in LinkedIn based on job changes or things they were putting in status updates or things they were doing within groups, which was all very professional, to what they were doing in their personal lives. I could see if they were on a vacation. I could see what they were enjoying, if they watched sports, what teams they were into. I got to see like a 360-degree view of these people. And this allowed me to make phone calls that were extremely relevant. And this is when I started really getting into social media. Proficiency in social media is a differentiator. But it will soon be a qualifier. And I think we're entering that day and age now. I think that most hiring managers, well, almost all hiring managers look for you a footprint online. Most of your sales managers, most people are looking at your social footprint to make sure that you're, of worth. And so what I went out to do was, hey, if I'm going to go all in on social, I'm going to start doing my job solely within a social landscape. I basically got rid of all of marketing. Marketing was still throwing leads over the fence. I was still being measured on number of dials and talk time. That was the metric. And I was always in the bottom of my number of dials. Literally the bottom. I would get called to my manager's office, and he'd yell at me, and he'd say, "You're not making any phone calls." And I was like, "But I'm making my number." And he's like, "Well, how are you doing this?" And I was like, "Because I'm using this thing called LinkedIn to find people who are interested in the stuff that we sell." I was just being active in groups. I was posting status updates. I basically learned to live without marketing because I became my own marketer. I generated my own leads by being active in the community, the market that I worked in, and having people touch my profile. When I realized the people that hit my profile were interested in the things that I was talking about, I had like a 90% hit rate. I would reach out to them, either through LinkedIn or find an email or a phone number for that person that viewed my profile, and I'd call them, and I 90% of the time would get a meeting with them. When I realized that this was the case, I optimized for that. And I drove as much traffic as possible to my LinkedIn profile. And over the years, it's served me very well. It's the URL that I use in all my other social profiles. So if you look at my Twitter profile, it goes to my LinkedIn profile. The URL does. I have my own website, but I'll get into that in a second. Instagram. Anything that I am allowed to put in a website for, I drive it back to my LinkedIn profile. And the reason for that is I can drive people to my website. Yeah, that's great. I write on a blog, but I can't see who those people are. It's a nice little vanity metric to see like views, but I don't get to see who those people were. I point everybody to my LinkedIn profile, and then I'm able to see who those people were that touched my profile. When I was in sales, that was my lifeblood. I could care less what marketing was doing. They were just basically buying lists and throwing it into the CRM and saying, hey, we did our job, now go close some stuff. But I wanted to find people who were actually interested in the things I was doing. So I learned how to use social media to do that. So now the interesting stuff for you guys. ToutApp is in a very good position when it comes to social selling. You guys are all familiar with the social selling index? Yeah? Okay. Basically how LinkedIn measures activity for salespeople. So based on a handful of competitors, you guys are winning. Not by a whole ton, but you guys are. The fact that you guys, when I started plugging in names of companies that are competitors to you, and was like, no, some of these guys are actually bigger than them, let's see where they fall in, you guys are doing great. So you're, as a organization, you have an average score of 74. SSI is measured by your professional brand. So is your profile complete? Things along those lines. Are you finding the right people? Are you actually connecting with decision makers? Are you engaging with insights? Meaning, are you posting stuff and sharing stuff that is then being engaged by your network? And then building strong relationships. So once you're connected with them, are you also staying in touch with them? Are they also staying engaged with you? That's building the relationship. So these are your numbers year over year. And it looks, you've had a drop. You're at 77, which is amazing. And now you're at like a 73.9, average of 74, which is still really, really good. The reason why that's dropped, I'm assuming, is because this room has doubled in size. So the averages just get thrown off. I wouldn't worry too much about that. 80? Okay. Yeah. Your profiles are extremely important for you as professionals, as you're moving through your career, and it's very valuable to a company. And when a company realizes that, the way that TK has in ToutApp, you're able to invest in that. There are many companies who do not want their salespeople on social media for a number of reasons, from it's a waste of your time to I don't want you going out and getting poached by somebody. But when companies embrace this, they're able to really get the results from it. Employees average 10 times the following than the companies do. And I looked at the data and I saw that this was consistent for ToutApp. ToutApp, 925 page views in a month. Your company page. All of the employees, over 10,000. Your profiles are getting hit more often than the companies are. So how do you leverage that? How are you building out your profiles in a way that continues to drive business back into the company as well as build your own professional brand? I looked at many of your profiles. You probably are going to go and see that I was viewing your profiles over the last couple of days, and all of your profiles are built really well. You have rich media, you have compelling headlines, some of you have actually written content and like publishing posts. You're doing the right things. Now it's just a matter of continuing to drive traffic to them so that you can start kind of getting the benefits from that. So this is a term called smarketing. It was coined by HubSpot, by the founders of HubSpot, but it's basically the alignment between sales and marketing. Because social networks and social media open up new opportunities for the collaboration between sales and marketing. And this company is on the right trajectory because your sales team and your marketing teams, as far as I know, work very closely together. In most cases, in fact, many of you, I'm sure, before you guys came here, you know that that's just not the case. Marketing and sales sat in different offices, different floors, they're all over the place, and nobody had any accountability to what was happening one way or the other. Long slide, you can read it, but hello, ladies. When sales and marketing work together, it becomes a machine. And one of the things that I learned as I moved from sales into marketing was that I wanted to maintain some of that ownership. When I took my first job in a marketing organization, it was at a company called Inside View, and it was scary. I'm a career salesperson; it's in my DNA, but I was going to go work as a marketing person, and I didn't like marketers. In fact, I did not like them at all, and so I was against being a marketer, but I saw the opportunity for what they were selling and said, hey, if I'm going to come, I want to have a number. Like, I want to make money based on the stuff that I'm doing. And it allowed me to learn new tactics without having a lot of the pressure of a salesperson. It was a different type of pressure. So in the old paradigm, marketing sat on one side, sales sat on the other. Marketing's job is to cast a wide net, to do campaigns, to do things that drive people in to either a landing page experience or general awareness or whatever that is. It's a one-to-many approach. Sales teams, you guys have a much better job. You get to actually interact with people. It's very one-to-one. You're having phone calls, you're having meetings, you're having regular interactions with these individuals. The problem is that marketing was generating a bunch of leads, buying lists, whatever it is. They throw it over the fence, and then you have to kind of go sort through them and figure out what's going on. Now we have technology that scores leads and things like that, so it gets a little bit easier, but it wasn't ideal. In this new paradigm, the worlds merge. Marketing still has a job to do. Marketing is still building brand. It's still generating leads. It's still that one-to-many approach. And salespeople are still exactly the same. You're still building trust, and you're still building connections with those individuals. But in the middle is where this nurturing phase takes place. And I don't really know if I need to explain all this to you because your product does this. I mean, as a sales organization, you are mini marketers. You are building these campaigns in it's called Command Center. What's the name of it? Yeah. Command Center. that are like dripping out emails to people. Like have become mini marketers. You are learning how to do this on a very personalized and individual approach. So this nurturing phase, people may not be ready to buy today, but if you build these campaigns correctly, if you're nurturing, if you are writing status updates, if you're engaging with these people in social the right way, when they are ready to buy, when they say, you know what, I finally got budget, this is a problem I need to fix right now, who are they going to think of? They're going to think of the person who's built their brand in such a way that you've become that resource. So 75% of B2B buyers use social media to make a buying decision. They're online, they're looking for stuff. We know that content marketing is a gold mine if done correctly. They're looking for information. People are hungry to find solutions to problems they're having in their companies. 84% of C-level and VP buyers are using social media. So to think that it's just some guy over in procurement using social media is wrong. In fact, most of you know, most of the decision makers you're looking for have a LinkedIn profile. Many of them are on Twitter. Many of them are using other social platforms, and hopefully you're stalking them professionally to see the things that are going on, right? And then 95% of the decision makers expect new or different information. So when we talk about leading with insights within your SSI, this is key. You can't just be another salesperson. You can't just be another vendor reaching out to them asking them to buy your product. You have to offer something to them. You have to be able to give them information or give them some value that these other people aren't able to give. And you are 5 times more likely to get that appointment, to get that meeting if you leverage connections. And this is what I learned was so important about LinkedIn. You can see all of your connections. You can see how you're connected to these individuals. And as a salesperson, that was gold to me. I used to believe this when I was in sales, but we had no numbers to back it up. And then over the last few years, the Sales Solutions Group has done the data analysis to figure this out. It's legit. You will make more connections. You will get more business if you leverage your existing connections, if you use referrals. So you should always be thinking about how do you continue to build your network to get to that second layer of individuals who can then become new customers. Go through some more research with you guys. So we had done some research with the IDC, and we wanted to understand how B2B specifically were making buying decisions. And what we found was that buyers who are using social media spend 84% more per purchase. There used to be this misnomer that people use social media to look for the deal, to look for the discounts. And that may be true on the consumer side. It is not true in the business world. And the reason for that is that in the business world, the stakes are much higher. It's not a $50 toy. It's not an iPad. It's not a laptop. They're making massive business decisions that are going to help or should help their company move forward. And these are tens of thousands, millions of dollar purchases. So when they are using social media to do the research, to find the solutions to these problems, they are willing to spend more money if it actually solves the problem. And they're also spending money more often. And we see this across the board at companies that have multiple product lines, where you get them in the door with one thing and then you can upsell them into other stuff. They're making 61% more purchases over time. So it's not a lot of one-off purchases. They're looking to buy lots of different things. So out of these purchasers, the ones that are most likely to engage are if you're seen as a thought leader in your space. Going back to what I said earlier, you are the CEO of Me Inc. You should become the single point of reference, the resource for all of your prospects and all of your customers. When they think of an issue that ToutApp answers, they should immediately think of calling you. In my career, that is the one thing that set me apart from everybody else, because I was able to somehow create this little thing called social selling that when people thought of, oh, how do I use social media to do sales, my name always popped up. whatever that is that you're trying to build your brand around, just find ways to cement it. Within this industry, when anybody brings up email analytics, whatever the search terms are, you want your names to come up for that. Obviously, I said introduce through your network. You have to leverage your connections, and then provide insights or knowledge about their business. If you can do these few things, you're going to become rock stars. And the bottom three will help the top one. The more you do this, the more your brand is going to get cemented. And you do this in 3 phases: social proximity, your presence, and building social capital. And by social proximity, I mean you have to build your network in a very thoughtful way. Each of you should already know what your connection philosophy is. And by connection philosophy, I mean who will you connect with and who won't you connect with. On one side of the scale, we have people who say, I'm never going to connect with somebody on LinkedIn unless I've met them and I've shaken their hand and I like them. It's one major extreme. The other extreme is, I don't care who you are. I just want more connections. I think they're called lions. You have to be somewhere in the middle. You can skew one way or the other, but as sales professionals, you should figure out what that is. You should know what that philosophy is for yourself. My connection philosophy has always been, if I can add value to you, or if you can add value to me, we'll get connected. So if you're in sales or if you're in marketing and you reach out to me, you want to connect, 99.9% of the time I will connect with them because I'm sure that there's some value that's going to be exchanged. Build your network thoughtfully. On the present side, what are you doing? It's one thing just to build your network, but you have to be active. You have to be posting status updates. You should be leveraging LinkedIn to spread news through the network, as well as with Twitter and whatever other platforms you're using. The one benefit of LinkedIn that no other social platform has is the virality of it. And with Twitter, I can post a status update. If somebody likes it, that's nice. It's a nice little number that pops up. If they retweet it, then it goes out to their network. If they comment on it, again, it's really nice. It shows up in the feed. On LinkedIn, it's totally different. If I like an update on LinkedIn, my entire network sees it. If I comment on an update on LinkedIn, my entire network sees it. And obviously, if I share it, everybody sees it. LinkedIn is the one network that all of the updates get spread through the network in a very wide net. So if you're posting status updates that are very relevant to your connections, to your industry, it's going to catch fire. More and more people are going to engage with this stuff over time. And your name in your face, your profile picture, is going to be a constant through all these different threads. And then social capital. If you're building your network the right way, you're posting status updates, you're building social capital. And what that means is when people think of a problem they need to solve, they come to you. You're basically putting deposits in a bank account that eventually you're going to be able to cash out on. So this was an argument that I used to have with my sales managers all the time. You're wasting your time on LinkedIn. I actually emailed him about a year ago and I laughed at him because I was like, hey, look at me now, woo! But I understood where he was coming from. There are personal networks. For most people, especially here in the US, Facebook is a very personal platform. You're only connected with close coworkers and friends and family. In other parts of the world, that's a little different. You go to like Asia, everybody's connecting with everybody on Facebook. It's just how they use it. But then there's professional networks. And at the end of the day, you're either wasting time or you're investing your time. And you might say, yes, I'm investing my time with my friends and family, but is that actually going to pay the bills? If you're investing your time in the right networks, if you're doing the things that are going to build that social capital, you're going to become more successful in the long run. So we define at LinkedIn social selling as leveraging your professional brand to fill your pipeline with the right people, insights, and build relationships. And these words were chosen very specifically. Your professional brand was the first thing that we wanted to call out. Who you are as a salesperson, your career path, what you've done, where you've gone to school, that matters. Because when somebody looks at your profile, some decision maker. They want to see who you are. Just as you're looking at all of them to figure out, hey, what's this guy do? Where does he work? What's his title? Within the platform. They're doing the same thing with you as soon as you send them an email. They're going to LinkedIn and looking at your profile. That's why you have 10,000 among all people in the company. People are looking at all of your profiles based on the activity that you have. So you have to learn to leverage your professional brand. And then ultimately, you want to fill your pipeline. We're in sales. That's what we want to do. With the right people, so decision makers, again, being conscious about how you're building your network. Leveraging insights. What are you sharing? What kind of things are out there that you're able to glean from their profiles to then use to your advantage? And then to build these relationships. And I watched a video, I can't remember if it was today or yesterday, some SDR video that you were on. And there was a good cadence of like how these things are done. I think it was like 3, 5, 7. Like, what's that cadence that you were talking about?
1, 3, 7, 14.
Yeah. So how you're actually engaging with these buyers or posting stuff online, like follow the same cadences. Some of this may be redundant for some of you guys, but social selling is important, and we've tracked it down to revenue. You will get 45% more opportunities as a whole if you're leveraging social media within the buying process or within the sales process, and you're 51% more likely to hit your quota. We've done internal studies at LinkedIn to say, does your social selling index score actually correlate to you going to club or not? And it was overwhelmingly yes. The people with the highest SSI scores at LinkedIn are going to club every year. Their behavior, their activity that they're doing on the platform as sales professionals is making them money. And this is about moving from serendipity to science. Serendipity is you going into the break room and talking about this person that you're trying to get in touch with, and the guy standing behind you says, oh, hey, I know somebody that works there that might be able to actually make an introduction. That's serendipity. And that happens all the time. And that's how a lot of salespeople eventually got ahead, was they learned to leverage like random connections to like find ways in. Moving that to science. So what if you didn't just happen to like be talking when John was behind you? What if you knew John was connected to this individual? And that's where TeamLink came into play. We can create a heat map across a company and say, here are the people that you know that can introduce you to so-and-so, and then leveraging that. Oh, that's a duplicate. Visibility creates opportunity. This was a mantra that I adopted when I took on this persona of being the CEO of Me Inc. The more visible you are within your network, the more opportunity will come your way. And there are thousands of examples of this that all of you can somehow relate to. Being at the right place at the right time. Very serendipitous, but you can build it into a science. When I was in sales, I would post a status update every single hour on a 24-hour clock on LinkedIn. I wanted to make sure that when somebody logged into LinkedIn, they saw my face in their feed. Some people got really annoyed by it because they didn't have a ton of connections and it was just my face in their feed. But I was willing to live with that. Because what I learned was the more active I was, the more opportunities would come my way. The more of a voice I had in the industry that I worked in, the more people thought of me as that resource and would just naturally come to me with questions. Visibility creates opportunity. So I'll go through some examples of how you can be visible within your network. All of you familiar that you can mention people within LinkedIn? Yeah? So I don't do this as much anymore, but on Mondays, I would look through my connections and I'd say, who are some people that I'd had some interesting conversations with? And I would write a Monday morning thank you update. And I would mention all of these people. You can mention up to, I think, 13 to 15 people within LinkedIn on any status update. These updates went off the charts because everybody who I mentioned was pinged, hey, Koka mentioned you in an update. So they would all comment or like it or share it or whatever it was. And then what happened with that? It then spread through the entire network. So my engagement for all of my future updates increased also because this one status update, thanking a handful of people, actually drove more people to my profile. Use your updates to engage your network. Not all of your updates should do this. They shouldn't all be memes, but there's a time and a place for it. I would post something funny picture, something lighthearted, and I would see my engagement increase as well, which would then drive more profile views to me. If every status update looks like this, people start thinking you're hokey and nobody wants to pay attention to you anymore. But if you drop these in over like every few days, once a week, whatever it is, you'll see those engagement numbers increase and you'll see more profile views coming your way. Because once this is shared, then everybody else is seeing it and your name is attached to this humorous update. Use your updates to inform your network. This isn't about ToutApp. This is about the industry as a whole. Again, you want to become the single resource for anybody that you're connected with. Find out what's going on in your industry. Share those updates. You don't need to promote the competition, but there's enough stuff that's happening in your world that you can find, curate, and then push back out through the networks. So industry news and relevant content. Find ways to curate this and then share it out through your network. And obviously, promote your company. Press releases, your blog posts, content you're creating. I mean, you guys are already doing this, and you're doing it really well. Find ways to build the machine so that this stuff is just happening automatically. There are tools out there. There's little hacks. I mean, one of the reasons why, again, like going back, like I'm very nerdy, was I learned how to create. So there's an application called IFT. You guys ever seen this? If this then that, it's ifttt.com. And you can say, anytime this RSS feed posts something new, push it out on Name the Network. And I create these little rules for any time that my company posted a blog update, then I wouldn't have to read their blog every day. It would just automatically get pushed out through my network. And I built hundreds of these based on my industry. So my updates were constantly flowing, and I had no idea what was being shared most of the time, but I was always getting pushed out there. And now I'm going to open it up for questions because I'm tired of talking.